You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic bootcamp, Moveville University, Pure Chiro Notes, Dr. Alok Trivedi, The Black Diamond Club, Element Mattresses, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Vita Chiropractic, the Universal Traction System, MedZone, Vantage Point Marketing, and Imaging Services. Let's hustle.
I have Bruce Goldsmith with me here. He is the creator of the Neuropatholator, and we're going to talk all things chiropractic. And where are you coming in from, Bruce?
I'm a little bit west of Atlanta, about an hour and a half away in the woods.
Okay, cool. And I am in the Grand Valley of Grand Junction, and this episode is brought to us today by Clothes for Chiro. And if you guys want to get the yes with less stress, reach out to either Sean, Jen, or Dan, and they can help you get that yes with less stress with Clothes for Chiro. So this episode, we're going to talk all things about you, Bruce. We had a very cool opportunity to meet each other out at Cal Jam. Say a big shout out to Mary Jane, Billy DeMoss, and his chiropractic team out there for putting that on. But I know that that's just one of the places that you go to. But let's talk right away, jump into the interview with you. Why chiropractic? Why did you choose chiropractic? And let's tell that story.
Okay, well, it chose me. I didn't choose it. I had a background of electrical engineering and 10 years of TV repair during high school years as well as during college. And I started studying things about health. I got into vegetarianism and yoga and meditation and some other things, and this was in the mid-'70s. I also started going out with a girl who was destined to be a concert pianist. I met her when she was 16. She had been going to Juilliard, and she had a trampoline accident before I met her. And so it caused a lot of problem, and it forced her after a year or so to actually drop out of thinking about piano as a career. The good news is that now 40 years later, she actually has a career with the piano, but there was a long time in between, and chiropractic made the difference. I met a chiropractor. He helped her a lot. He had these old lighted wall charts that were built in the 50s or 60s, and they weren't working. He asked me if I could fix them, and I said, sure. Well, that phrase, I said, sure, I had no idea that was going to be the next 40 years of my life. I fixed his charts. He said, well, there's nobody making anything like this. Do you think you could make those? And again, I said, sure. So in my bedroom and in the basement of a delicatessen, I started making neuropatholators in 1976. And I quickly deviated from the way they were made before because they didn't look very sophisticated. And so I upped the game. I have a degree in sculpture and metalsmithing. And so I applied my art degree to my electrical engineering and created the neuropatholator.
Yeah, that's it's really inspiring to see other non-DCs helping serve the chiropractic profession. And you've been helping, like it sounds like, over 4 decades now. And you came out with some technology and you figured out how to help offices. How far-reaching is this product right now?
Well, the neuropatholator is pretty well known amongst people who've been in practice for quite a while. I knew I was starting to get old when a doctor would come up to me at a seminar and he would say, yeah, when I was a kid, my doctor had these, and this is what made me decide to go to chiropractic school. There was a time when I started the business, I was the youngest one in the room, and that's no longer the case, especially if you go to a place like Cal Jam. But in any case, that's kind of is the short part of how we got here. I believe that not being a chiropractor is beneficial to understanding how the non-chiropractor thinks when creating patient education. I almost went to chiropractic school in '82, but this business took off, and I thought about it. Well, you can only help so many people a day with your office, but I know that there's literally thousands of people who are educated about chiropractic every single day for the last 4 decades because of the path that I chose to take.
Yeah, so let's jump right into this big word that we're talking about, neuropatholator. It's almost as big as, probably as confusing to most people as the word subluxation, not in this audience, but for the general population. What is the neuropatholator and what does it do?
Well, now the name was actually the idea of my partner, who was my partner until 78, the chiropractor who introduced me to this, Dr. Cohen. But it does exactly what it says. It traces the pathways of the nerve system electronically. So when you push a button at a vertebral level, you're instantly going to see it going down the arms and out to the lungs and heart, for instance. And combining the two together was really sort of the big idea of what chiropractic is about. There have been charts that showed the spinal nerves and charts that showed the autonomic, but this way we're able to demonstrate a single cause that not only represents what the patient has as an initial complaint, but it also helps represent the consequences of the subluxation left uncorrected.
Yeah, that's pretty fascinating. And when you showed me a demo out there at CalJam, is that the same model, the demo that you showed me? It's over your shoulder there?
Yeah, the software that's in the background. I have a few levels of software. This is the sort of the lower end or the starter software that I offer as a subscription. And this one gives you the ability to choose something like shooting pain, and then to go ahead and to choose an area of the body where that's being experienced, and then it relates back to what area of the spine. This screen here is actually free. If anybody goes to freechirosoftware.com starting this week, they'll be able to get this free to run on their computers, as many computers as they want in the office. But then the classic neuropathylator is where we're showing the nerves and organs simultaneously. So that's an example. I don't know if it's showing up so far away, but that's an example of what that would look like. And the lighted wall charts basically did the same thing.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I told you the first time I saw your product, I wasn't a kid. It was actually last year. I was at a clinic down in Mesquite, Texas, American Chiropractic, and I saw your chart on the wall. And when I first interacted with you, I was like, yeah, I just saw this down at Paul Lichty's practice. And you're like, yeah.
Oh, I know Paul.
Yeah, he's exactly what you said. And as I got to see you over there, I was fascinated by the level of clarity that this can help as an educational tool. And I know you said earlier on that you're in 30 countries. How quickly did that grow?
Well, it didn't grow too quickly until about 1980 when I first started doing Parker seminars.
Okay.
That's where people were coming from all over the world to those seminars. They were by far the biggest at the time. And so I had done pretty much every Parker seminar from the beginning of 81 until, well, now I just go to the Vegas seminars. But, so that's a lot of Parker seminars. But that introduced my product to people in other countries. Later on, in the early 2000s, I went out to do a few seminars with Mark Hudson. And that's when a lot more doctors purchased, and we translated the software. There's actually 10 languages for it now, even including Mandarin. So it's fun watching it expand. I have two doctors who purchased just recently from me, this year actually, one in India and another one in Cambodia. He said he's the first chiropractor in Cambodia, and he wanted to make sure he had our software to educate there. So yeah, I know that literally thousands of people every day are educated to the neuropathylator concept with our software.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I know you could show some other cool stuff. I didn't actually know that you could demo this in the background while I was going to be interviewing you today. Is there any cool stuff that you want to show our audience today, what it can do for them? Well,
sure. I'm going to show you that here in the subscription-based version, we can basically just show how subluxation disrupts the normal discs and interferes with the nerves. That can interfere with the going back up to the brain. So, some presentations, and at the free level, we have this presentation where, sorry you see the back of my head while I'm doing this, but so we're talking about how chiropractic is different because people are different, but there is within us this inherent ability to heal the body itself. And so we're talking about a balance in life. Structural trauma versus physical integrity, biochemical toxins versus nutritional wholeness, and negative thoughts versus emotional wellness. So basically, we've got thoughts, traumas, and toxins. And then we can talk about the importance of the cells getting the good stuff in and the bad stuff out. And it's all the cells working together in conjunction with the nerve system and the brain's ability to get those signals out to all parts of the body. Because as the brain is communicating with the heart and the lungs and the other organs in the body, they can function in balance. And so the autonomic nerve system, while it may not have symptoms like pain associated with it, is critical for all function in the body. So a chiropractor is going to look for a cause. This is kind of cool because I can see a reflection of the screen in here and I don't have to turn away. But they can look for the cause at the neck, and then they can help the person express a fuller sense of life. So that's a very short presentation. It only has a few screens in it, but that's free along with the other free software. We have the screens, so a doctor could go over a day 1 or a day 2 or a day 3 visit. I'll return back here, and you can see those visits up here, another visit on cellular performance. And we're also working along with Michael Longyear at Life University, because he's doing a lot of brain-based stuff as well. And so we're creating a whole presentation for explaining how the brain can sometimes hold on to things and itself can cause subluxations. And so at times we need to take a look at everything involved in helping to heal the patient or helping the patient to heal themselves. But that's kind of indicative of that information. In our other software package, the Neuropatholator 3D, we have literally hundreds and hundreds of graphics, and doctors can set up a kiosk for the waiting room or multiple lectures that they custom tailor to the images they want to use when they want to use them. They can add their own images, videos, etc.
And I think that's all just blows me away, how detailed everything is and how it can actually tell the chiropractic story, and how when somebody sees, like, a pain shooting down the arm, they know exactly the segments that those are coming from. And I think that's a great resource for any office to educate the potential patients about or their current patients about. And I know earlier on you said that you have gone to a lot of seminars with this. How many of those have you hit? And I know over 40 years, that's probably just like hundreds and maybe 1,000.
It's a lot, because for at least 2.5 decades, I personally did 20 seminars a year. But now I do about 4 or 5, maybe 6. I'll do some local ones here with Life University. I do Parker, Cal Jam, wouldn't miss Cal Jam. And I do the Florida Chiropractic Association in Orlando. I've done that one every year since 78. So, yeah, I've heard a lot of speakers. I've talked to a lot of doctors. It's valuable to be out there, because so much of the product I've created is a result of the doctors saying, I use such ability to actually put it there on the screen. And we do it in a way that it helps remind the doctor to be talking about chiropractic and not necessarily sports or weather or things that creep into the daily discussions that aren't on track. So having literally hundreds of different graphics and the ability to pre-program it. Well, this is visit 12. On visit 12, I would like my staff to discuss a particular topic. They hit button 12 and it jumps to that topic. This is the 3D software rather than on a lower end subscription basis. This is more, I think of the other that I'm coming out with is the Toyota, and this is the Lexus, as it were. And this is what I've been offering since 2001. So I'm showing T1, but I can zoom into that area. So if I come in like this, and I didn't show this to you at CalJam, but I can actually click on T1, and you see the vertebra rotate a little bit, and you see it going down just one arm or one leg. And I can actually rotate that image of the spine so that they can see how everything is interconnected for proper function. Also, from here, I can jump to, I'm at T1, I can jump to what muscles are involved or what areas of the skin are involved. And then we have literally hundreds of graphics within our spinal health orientation chart. So this comes from a flip chart that we offered. We offered this flip chart from 87 until the mid-2000s here. And the doctors would pick and choose from 60 different posters, and they would build the lecture they want. They would be able to take it out of the office and bring more patients in. So we just took it and we made it electronic in 2001. So this is about 16 years now. Why does the spine have curves? What if it didn't have curves? How did the curves develop? What can interfere with the development of the curves? So it just makes it possible to, in a very friendly, easy way, keep the topic about chiropractic, build patient lectures that you want, have daily visits of information, and it's been a lot of fun. I guess I should take it off of that one or I'll get called up for child abuse. And everything is really just within a few buttons, a few clicks. So for instance, if I want to talk about the cervical subluxation, now this goes into a little more detail than the other software. So here's where not only can I show the subluxation interferes with the normal function of the spine, but I can show how periodic adjustments over time can help us begin to get back toward what is correct. But if we don't do that, then we can show the phases of decay, deterioration, and degeneration, and quickly show a patient an example of what a good neck looks like and a bad neck. So it makes it so easy for the doctor's discussion on a daily basis, which I guess is why I've enjoyed doing it for 41 years. It's creative for me, the art combined with the programming, and it's beneficial to the doctor's office on many levels.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic bootcamp, Moveville University, Pure Chiro Notes, Dr. Alok Trivedi, the Black Diamond Club, Element Mattresses, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Vita Chiropractic, the Universal Traction System, MedZone, Vantage Point Marketing, and Imaging Services. Let's hustle.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that, there's a component of, there's a component of the static view and there's a component of the active view. And people can see the degeneration phase on the active view, and they can see the degeneration phase on a static view. They can see how the symptomatology bridges from one side of the body to the other side of the body, and how it might look if you don't correct subluxation, and what that does to the body long term if we don't start getting people healthy with chiropractic services. I just think that what you've been able to do is you've educated probably hundreds of thousands of people that otherwise wouldn't understand the dynamics of the human skeleton and how having a healthy spine has a direct impact on their symptomatology. And when they start to actually letting their body get under chiropractic care, their body starts healing properly. And I think that that's the early stages of educating everyone. And I know when I approached you, I was like, man, I have this great idea for this cool thing down the line. How would this interact with educating people on, if I'm there toe to toe with them and I'm talking to them? You're like, yeah, that's easy. And that's just it. Is you've taken something so complex that you've almost made it easy. And I think that that's something like even our buddy Tom Potisk here, he said, let's see here. What did he say? He said, I've used it for 24 years building my huge multi-DC family practice. And I'm just going to take a break here, if you don't mind, Bruce, and just acknowledge some of the people that are on this live feed with us.
Sure. By all means.
Barbara Eaton up in Alaska. She's happy Monday to us. Sergio Reyes Sanchez. He actually hosted me when I was down in Mexico showing our documentary film to the chiropractic college down there in Toluca, Mexico. So that was a huge honor to have him on the live feed with us. We have Michelle Schwen says, this is amazing. I think she's going to become a new customer of yours, I would have to say. And Nick Seacrest, he's actually my chiropractor. and he's out here in Grand Junction with me. But he says, "This is awesome. Thank you for your commitment to our profession." And I think that, recognizing the people that are on the feed with us, I think it's just really cool to see like how many lives your products are touching, and how just doing a quick demo like this can get more influence for something I know that will help any practice educate people on the power of spinal health. And let's talk a little bit. Who are your mentors? How did you decide that this was like something that I mean, obviously you didn't just jump out of like, day one and say, I know everything about chiropractic. Who mentored you to get you educated on how to develop this product?
Well, initially, Dr. Harvey Cohen, who had the lighted wall charts that weren't working, I used to go and spend lunchtime with him. I had graduated from school. I had my art degree and wasn't really sure how to make a living doing that. So I had some time on my hands, and during lunch I would sit with him and I would talk about health, and he would educate me on chiropractic. Then later on, there were a number of people I met as a result of doing the Parker seminars. The first person who was really influential was Dr. Kirby Landis. I don't know if that's a name you know. There's a lot of people who know Dr. Kirby. Very first time I was at Parker, they really didn't have vendors. They just had Share Center. And I had my neuropathylator set up. And actually, Jim Parker was my only competitor. He made a much lower end quality nerve chart, wall chart, which is why he wanted to have mine there. And most of the speakers all had his charts. And when Kirby Landis walked into the room, first thing, the doors had just opened and nobody had spoken yet. And he saw the neuropathylator and he said, have that in my room at 10 o'clock. I teach reported findings. That's beautiful. So I immediately hustled it over to his room on the tripod that I had. And Dr. Landis was responsible for hundreds of chiropractors purchasing neuropathylator over the next 10 years. Also met at the same time Dr. Larry Markson and Dr. Peter Fernandez and Chuck Gibson. They were incredibly helpful. They taught me a lot about many different things. The one chiropractor who had I would say the biggest influence on my life, who I spent at least 8 seminars a year with, and that was Dr. William Harris, or Bill Harris. I don't know if that's a name you know. He passed a few years ago, but he gave millions and millions of dollars to the chiropractic schools so that they could have departments that dealt with teaching a chiropractor something about business, so that when they graduate, they're going to be more successful. And he also helped save Life University when Dr. Riekman came in. So those are some of the people who influenced me a lot, but Dr. Harris for sure. He used to teach in the 50s with somebody named Napoleon Hill. You may have heard of Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, I still think that people are talking about Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, I think so. These days I find Billy D incredibly inspiring. I love Cal Jam. I love what he's doing. I think the message is really important. Somebody else I worked with was Reggie Gold, because I loved Reggie's spirit and not wanting to water down his concept of chiropractic. As he explained it to me, he said, Bruce, I'm kind of over here and the MDs are over here and most chiropractors practice somewhere here. He said, if I allow myself to go like this at all, then the middle shifts, and I can't afford to let the middle shift. And I totally understood his concept there.
Wow. I mean, the legacy and the lives that you've had a chance to be around, it's utterly amazing. And I know that Chuck Gibson, just as one of the names you mentioned there, I had a chance to meet him, I think it was 3 years ago at Cal Jam. And he's the coach of Paul Lichty. And, I know that I worked for a couple of years with Paul's son, Micah.
Paul.
And I worked with
I met Micah.
Yeah, I worked with Micah for a couple of years out in Colorado, and actually Micah's down there now working with his dad in Texas. So, things go full circle. And, there's a whole nother group of people that are coming up in the chiropractic world that would probably benefit from using your products and educating their patient base, and, not only educating their patient base, but having a resource to be able to make it easier for people to know what chiropractic does and what it doesn't if the body's not under maintenance.
Yes, absolutely. Very important. And I've created some custom materials for certain people too, like Reggie Gold. I created the flip chart for him about 10, 15 years ago that he was selling, and then we converted that to software when he wanted to start offering it as that in that format as well. So a lot of people who have consulting groups have a special way of communicating to their patients, and they teach that communication method to their clients. And so we're able to help turn that into something electronic if they're interested, and even help protect it for them so that they can offer it, for instance, only to their own clients. So that keeps it fun and fresh for me because I love the creation.
And that bridges right into the next question. What's next for you? What's next on your career path? What are you going to be doing?
Well, I have some things that I've been working on that are complementary to what I already have, but I don't talk about them until they're ready to go. The neuropathylator has been there have been many different phases of it. The classic neuropathylator went pretty much unchanged from 79 to 2004. But then I came out with the flip chart in the 80s because I realized there was more that the doctors wanted to say. The neuropathylator was a great product. I call it probably the best one-trick pony in chiropractic because it did only one thing. You push the button, it flashed. It did it very, very well, but it couldn't do any more than that. So I created a computerized version of it back in '91 where it had a little sign built in, and the sign would respond to which vertebra you pressed before it would flash the lights. And that was a good waiting room product because I learned that the patients, if they're pushing the buttons, they're having a good time, but they're not learning the rest of the story behind it. So that's why we added the computerized neuropathylator. But when software became easier to do animation in, and when computers became easier to purchase in 2000, that's when I decided that the writing was on the wall. I stopped buying switches and light bulbs around 2010. And at that point, I was the last person buying those switches. They were built for me in Japan, and the sockets were on. There's nobody building those sockets and light bulbs and switches anymore, but it was a good match. That was the key. It was maybe a mistake, but the light bulbs and switches that a person bought 30 years ago on a neuropathylator are likely still working. And many times I think that if I had instead of sold that product, I had put like a little coin slot on the side, and every time a doctor wanted to do an ROF, they'd throw in a quarter. I'd probably be living on an island somewhere, or I'd be surfing with Billy next weekend or whatever.
Yeah, that's really cool. And it's just, honestly, it's an honor to hear about how much integrity you've put into what you believed in. And you came from your humble beginnings as the TV repairman to the electrical engineer to the chiropractic advocate to the ultimate educator to the man that shook all the hands along the way over the decades, and now to somebody that was introduced to me by Rick Luz with a proper pillow out at Cal Jam. He's like, you have to go meet this guy. And now I get a chance to host you on the Chiro Hustle live stream, and we get to talk about the neuropathylator, which has been something of a passion project for you over the past 4 decades. And I think that it's just an honor for me to be able to host you today and to talk to you about what inspired you to do what you do and why you do what you do, and how this has helped people in over 30 countries, and how it's the development. And I think that anybody that's watching this has an entrepreneurial spirit. I think that anybody that has some type of an idea and that wants to actually make that idea come to something of a product, you have to always consider how to sharpen the axe and where to go next, and to move where the puck is going, and not what you think that what you've created today is the end all. Because I think what you've done over the time is you watch the trends. Like you said, the circuits have changed. They've gone from the flip chart to the digital era. They've gone from the digital era to now you can customize this and put skin on it and make it customizable for a specific group. I mean, you made it to the point where Kirby used it, to Reggie used it, to now it's helping with the neural development of the brain communication down at Life University. And I think the sky is honestly the limit when we take a simple thing like a subluxation and we develop it into something that is now light years past where you started back in 1978. And
right. Well, and I didn't mention that we also make it possible for people to put this on their website, and we have some mobile apps that we've had in the past and we're coming out with. So the idea is that a patient can actually play with a neuropathylator on their phone at home and show it to somebody else.
So you're making it consumer grade.
Right. Exactly.
Not just the practitioner, but for the public.
Exactly. Although it will have, as I come out with it this spring, the latest version of it, it'll have a locator in it. So chiropractors can choose to be the chiropractor in their town that it would refer to as they go through it. But yes, they'll be able to play with the neuropathylator and learn from presentations about what it's like to go to a doctor's office, what the doctor's actually looking for, and how that impacts their health in the long term.
And I had a chance to meet this amazing young man at the 10X Summit out in Vegas. It's over the weekend. His name is Ray. I don't want to say his last name wrong, but Ray Osone or Ocone. But he's at Life College, or Life West College, and he says thanks for your contribution, Bruce. And it's amazing how many people actually reach out to us. And it's amazing. I was watching a guy named Lewis Howes. He runs a podcast. I can't remember what the name of the podcast is called, but he was speaking at this 10X GrowthCon that was hosted by Grant Cardone. And my friend Natasha sent me a text message and says, "Hey, come over and sit here by me." So I moved around the whole stadium from one side where I was sitting to the other side. And it's just an amazing story I'm going to share quick. But he's like, "Who has a podcast out there?" And the audience was silent. And I yelled over everybody's volume, "Chiro Hustle." And there was this guy, a doctor, over in the audience next to me. He goes, "You know what? One of my friends told me I had to find this guy named Jim Chester, who's an amazing chiropractic advocate, and he told me that your podcast was called Chiro Hustle." And just the whole idea of if we do something that involves the chiropractic truth and the chiropractic message, the people will eventually find us, and then the message will support us. And then the next thing we get chiropractic to live outside the four walls of chiropractic. And I think that that's where we both are. I think that, marrying my early career with your lengthy career is something I think that we're going to help more people as we work together.
Absolutely. And I thank you for this opportunity. And I want to thank Rick Luce for actually introducing the two of us. And within our software, we have information about his pillows as well as the exercises with his roller. Because that's one of the things that we can do in the software is we can deliver additional information that will not only educate the doctor, but then the doctor can use to educate the patient.
Yeah, man. So you said that there's a free software that people can get. Where do they go for that again?
It's a very simple URL. It's called freechirosoftware.com.
freechirosoftware.com. We'll make sure that that's in the comment section of this. And if you guys
and then if they want to see the more robust version, the Lexus version, as it were, then they should go to neuropathylator.com.
Okay, so we'll also.
And I know you know how to spell it, so you put that in there too.
We'll also put that into the chat as well. And if you guys are watching this on replay and you do have questions for Bruce or myself, please go ahead and comment to us and let us know if you guys want to know more about the product. And I just want to say thank you, Bruce, for sharing about your career and about your passion and about what you've done to help educate the masses on chiropractic.
Well, it's been my pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to a bunch of people who I don't know.
Yeah, man.
And I hope you're all having a great day.
I think that that's really cool. And I'm just going to close out by saying thank you to Close for Chiro. They are the best in the business when it comes to the day one, day two process. And if you want to get the yes with less stress, reach out to Sean, Jen, or Dan, and they'll be able to help you out. And I just want to say I appreciate all of you that have been on this live Facebook with us today, this afternoon edition of the Chiro Hustle live stream. And Bruce, I can't wait till I get a chance to have you on the show again, and I can't wait till I get the chance to see you in person again. And I know we have some blueprints to lay down for my ideas about how to get the chiropractic message more mainstream as well. So I can't wait for all that to happen, and thank you for taking some time out of your day to share your story.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Well, have a blessed rest of your day, and we'll catch up soon, okay?
Okay. Take care.
And keep Chiro hustling.
Thank you for listening to Chiro Hustle Live. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.